Welcome to the space for transformational leaders to unleash their magic, see better client results, work lighter, and live source. Intuition is the new money. I'm Darla Ledoux, founder of Source, and welcome to this episode of Shift the Field TV. I am someone who needed a lot of coaching around money. I had a lot of faulty beliefs and limits about my own value and what was possible in the world, what it was okay to spend money on and what it wasn't. Someone stood for me when I made a decision to invest in support to help with my money mindset, to help with my business strategy, and to help really with my energy and my being to be able to embody more of who I came here to be. She stood for me in a loving yet clear way, suggested that I could build my business on my own, but if I did, I'd probably be redoing it once I learned the things that they would teach. And I'm so grateful she said that. Now, I got to feel if that felt true for me. I'm the one that then had to take that statement and discern if that felt true for me. I'm so grateful that she had the courage to say that and to really take a stand that something else was possible. She could hear in my sharing that there was something I was missing that they would be able to help me receive so I could change my business and build it right from the start. For years now, I've helped my clients with becoming comfortable talking about money, and specifically when they're having enrollment conversations with someone and the person has a money objection, how to talk about it. How do we dive into it and not let that objection stop us? Not from a place of trying to convince or get the sale or anything like that, but simply from a place of taking a stand for what's possible. Today, in my company that's called Sourced, a big part of what we help people do is trust themselves and trust their inner knowing. Well, one of the things that I've noticed, and the title of this video is Intuition is the New Money. So it used to be really, really common that people would say, I can't afford it, or that's too much, in order to stop a conversation from happening. When they started to feel a discomfort with what's possible. Today, instead of it being money that's the stopper, because so many of us are trained now to talk about money and to help someone look at what's really true for them about money. Today, the stopper, or that mic drop in a conversation, is my intuition said no, or my guides said no. Now, often this will happen. Someone will be in a conversation and there'll be a yes. It'll feel like a soul yes. And the way we teach people to have these enrollment conversations is to really ask the client to tune in to feel what's true for them. And in the conversation, it's a soul yes, but then they sleep on it or they meditate on it, etc., which, is great. I do that. And then they'll come back and say, my guide said no. And it's like money used to be for a lot of people. They don't know what to do from there. And so the conversation stops. I don't have an answer. Okay, I'm not coming to you with a 3-step formula for overcoming the objection of intuition, but it is a topic of conversation and something I've put into my little magical structuring Rolodex, where my goal is to come up with a framework I can teach about this. But here's what I want to teach today. If intuition is the new money, and it's kind of the holy grail of things that we can't talk about and can't question or explore, I'm going to apply the same thing I would if a person said, I don't have the money or that's expensive. I would do the following. The first thing is I would just check in. This is what you said you wanted, and this is where you are now. And is that still true? Do you still want that outcome? And then do you believe that this program would actually help you get that outcome? So we want to check in on that, because, if that's the gap, that's a whole other conversation. But if yes, they still want the outcome, and yes, they believe the program would support them, The next step is to dive in. Tell me about how your inner knowing works. Tell me about that experience. How do you know that your guide said no? Now, the reason this is like the stopper is if you're supporting someone and you don't know how their guides show up, and how your guides show up might be different than how their guides show up, and it's a whole conversation, right? So imagine it was just like you're asking someone, oh, how do you and your spouse do money? What agreements do you have? Have you made a purchase like this before? Tell me about that. It would be really, really similar. Tell me about how your guides speak to you. What was the experience for you when you got the message? Tell me about a time in the past where your guides have helped you make a really great decision. Tell me about a time maybe when you thought your guides were helping you and it turned out that it wasn't the decision you would have made. And just supporting people to explore that without feeling like it's an off-guard topic. Now, obviously, they have to want to explore it. You're not trying to override that. But what I find is that a lot of times we don't know what's guidance and what's fear. And when you're doing transformational work, meaning their life will never be the same, they're going to literally blow their ego patterns out of the water. Their ego gets really extra loud and scared. And so a lot of times it will disguise itself as guidance, right? Or the fear is speaking so loudly, we interpret it as guidance. This must not be right. And just like the woman who stood for me and suggested that I could go build my business by myself, but I would probably be rebuilding it. Similarly, a person can go build their business without learning how their intuition works, but they're probably going to end up rebuilding it because they're going to be building it from fear. As the guide in this conversation, your job is to just ask the questions. Okay. You have to be unattached. We always have to be unattached to the outcome. You're not trying to get them to say yes. You're actually being in service and support of them knowing more about how their guidance works. You also want to be sure you really want to work with them and your inner knowing is a yes to work with them. And you really feel that what they said they want is something you can help them get. And if those things are all lined up, explore it with them. Don't be afraid to go there. Don't let that be off limits. Certainly don't judge the way their knowing works, but get curious. Help them get curious where the two of you are looking together to discern, is this guidance or is this fear? I'd love to know your experience with this. I imagine I'll record more videos as I continue to percolate on this topic. So I'd love to hear your thoughts below. This is Darla Ledoux, founder of Sourced, and I'll see you soon.